Man, good afternoon, good evening, and for those in Korea, good morning. Hey, we are back on Army Reenlistment Live, going live tonight with a mental performance coach. Now, I know people don't really know what that is. That's why we bring the people on to talk about it. So tonight's guest is a Hall of Famer, a Hall of Famer. So listen, and he played a 3-time Hall of Famer who played professional basketball. So you may have not heard of him because you're not a professional basketball, person, but we're going to bring on Todd Cetnar now and talk about what it is to be a mental performance coach and his background and stuff. So again, a fellow New Yorker. We'll ask him if he's a Giants fan or Mets fan or Yankees fan, but tonight we don't have on our Boston folks like Sam Block. So we took him off tonight because it's a New York only broadcast. So let's bring on Todd. Welcome to the show. I know you're a basketball guy. What's up with your background?
Hey, Matt. Yeah, thanks so much. First of all, so good to be here. Appreciate you inviting me on. And, of course, thanks to you and everyone listening for your service. Forever indebted there. But, yeah, the background, man, actually, I had to get out of the house. I'm actually next door. This is a neighbor's house. And, of course, you mentioned I'm a professional basketball player. So every now and then I creep over here to get some quiet time, and people wonder what's going on with the baseball and football. So not my house, but a good space to do things like this.
Hey, I'm not going to brag or anything, Todd. So I played high school basketball, and one time I scored 20 points in a game. I'm not going to challenge you to a game though, but if you're ever in the area, man, I'll watch you. All right, I'll watch you play.
Let's do it, man. I think it's guard against guard, right? It looks.
That's right. That's right. I'm a short guy. I'm only 6 foot tall, so I'm kind of short.
Same.
Hey, so tonight is educate and empower and energize. That is your mission, right?
Yeah.
So tell us who is Todd Cetnar and where you're from, a little bit of background, and what you're doing now.
Yeah. So no, appreciate that. So first and foremost, as you mentioned, I appreciate the introduction, but I was a guy who grew up a coach's son. My dad was a high school basketball coach here in upstate New York. I'm currently in Saratoga Springs, New York. My dad coached for about 30 years. And so I had the privilege and pleasure of playing 4 years on a varsity basketball team for him. I went on to earn a Division I scholarship at the University at Albany, which is a mid-major school that participates in the America East Conference. And then upon my last game, which is, I think it was against Cornell University, I had the lead scout for the New York Knicks there. I thought, wow, this is going to be my shot to get into the NBA. I participated in a number of summer league camps, never quite made a fall roster, and I was getting a lot of calls from Europe. And so I knew that was the path that I was going to have to decide to go on if I wanted to fulfill my childhood dream of getting paid to play the game I love. And so I went on to Europe, 9 countries over the course of 6.5 years, and fulfilled that childhood dream of playing professional basketball. So great experience, great opportunity, and that took me to about 2006. And at that point, I was at a pivotal point where I'm like, well, I can continue to do what I'm doing, or maybe we change gears and jump into the corporate world. And what I did at that point was I was able to get a job with a company called Daiichi Sankyo. It's a pharmaceutical job. So from 2006 through today, I kind of worked my way up the corporate ladder. I went from pharmaceutical sales to the medical device arena. And today I sit as a VP of sales for a leading medical device company, leading people, managing about $330 million. So a good gig and proud to be a part of that company.
So even though your basketball career didn't pan out like you had hoped it, because listen, I'm a Knicks fan too. Religiously, listen, 94 Knicks, I get it. Tough year for the Rockets were all over that, man. But believe me, I'm a diehard Knicks fan, never good thing. But even though your college or your NBA dreams never panned out, you're doing pretty well, right?
I am. And you know what? I never worried about the end goal. It's great to have goals, and we all need to say, where do we want to go and try to reverse engineer it? But I think the one thing I learned really early on from both my mom and my dad was they said, enjoy the process. Because if you enjoy the process, think how much you're going to learn along the way, whether or not you achieve your goal. And so I always took that mindset to the court and then eventually off the court in the corporate world. Was whatever I was doing, I was going to maximize my day. I was going to enjoy the process. And if I'm doing something, I'm going to do it right. And so that was a cool piece of advice early on that I kind of learned.
Now, I may throw a few basketball tidbits in here. So just like Joel Embiid, man, trust
Absolutely.
the process, enjoy that journey. So you mentioned mental performance coach.
Mm-hmm.
What is that, and how can someone get into that, and is it a good fit for people?
Yeah, so give me a minute to explain the background there. So when about 2 years ago, obviously still doing what I'm doing now in terms of medical device and being a VP of sales, but I've always been a guy, Matt, that gravitated towards ultra successful people in life. And if you look at my life in the rearview mirror, whether it was in the athletic side or the corporate side, no matter where I was always trying to learn from the best. So in the athletic side, you know the deal, the Jordans, the Tigers, Serenas, Federers, Ali. What did they do differently to separate themselves? And when I was in the corporate world, I did the same thing. I started to really study and research Bezos, Gates, Jobs, Zuckerberg, all those names that, again, were able to close the gap from where they are to where they want to be and separate from the rest of the pack. And so over the course of 30 years, I also did this with people that I was able to be in contact with and actually speak to, not just the celebrities to study from afar. And anyone that I came in contact with, whether they were in the company for a guest speaker, a new leader, a person that, you know the drill, when they walk into the room, they act the part, they walk the part, they talk the part. You know what I did? I acted like I was in third grade. I'd walk up to them and say, hey, can I be your friend? Can I need what you have? No matter what it was. Some people had the confidence, public speaking, the ability to be funny. Whatever the case it was, if I felt that I can take a little piece that would help me grow, and then I can help others grow by serving and make an impact, that's what I wanted to do. And so ultimately, what I came up with was the 3 pillars of elite results. Because here's what's cool about studying all these people. They all had 3 things in common. They had a different level mindset. They had exceptional leadership skills. And then they understood how to build a culture or an environment around them to give them the best chance to win. So I'm thinking, okay, mindset, leadership, culture, let's call those the 3 pillars of elite results. And how do you get there? And so basically what I learned was under each of the 3 pillars, all these people mastered 8 skills under mindset, 8 skills under leadership, and 8 skills under culture. So if you can master these 24 skills, you're going to be able to gain elite results. And so what I did is I worked with a coach out in Arizona, Brian Kane, his name is, one of the top mental performance coaches in the country that has a program to get certified as a mental performance coach. He's got his own framework, own curriculum. I learned through him, became a mental performance coach, and now I took what I learned from all those people over the course of 30 years, and now I'm serving it back.
I like that. And for our Army audience, before we get into that, so he mentioned mindset, leadership, and culture. That's MLC. For our Army folks, that means Master Leadership Course, right, AJ? So that's what we're talking about right now. So those things can really help you out. So for those watching tonight, this isn't your promotion stuff. This is going to get your mind right when you want to really succeed in the military. So for those out there watching tonight, we got a few dozen watching tonight. Drop a comment where you're watching from. Add Todd some questions, and we'll get the questions later on. But I know you mentioned the corporate world. How'd you move from? You didn't move from. You just added on to. You didn't move from. How'd you go from the corporate world to being an entrepreneur, and how difficult was that?
Yeah. So to your point, right? I'm still doing it all. I'm still at the medical device company. 2 years ago, I started Settner Consulting Group and became an entrepreneur. And when I was talking to, and I believe everyone needs a coach. And as I mentioned, Brian's my coach. But when I was going through the process of getting certified as a mental performance coach, I'm thinking to myself, wow, there's a lot going on in my life right now. I want to start a business. I'm a VP of sales for a large company. I was becoming a father 2 years ago. I got an 18-month-old. I've got another one on the way due in November. So I'm a husband, a father, a son, a brother. There's a lot going on. And on top of all that, last year I started doing some Ironman triathlons. So I'm training for those. I've got one in October and one in December this year. And people always ask me the same question you just asked me. How do you transition from the corporate world to entrepreneurship? How do you get everything in one day? And basically what I tell people is this. I created a framework, part of my 3 pillars of elite results, where I understood one thing. There's 168 hours in a week. What am I doing with my time? And if I track it, is everything that I'm doing dedicated and aligned to the goals that I want to achieve in my life for myself and my family in the way I want to serve? And when I started to map out my week and realized where my time was going and the unalignment of what I really want to achieve, I really started to hone in on being able to time block everything important to me so I can grow my business, be a leader of people, and still be a husband and father, friend, son, and brother, and all the rest of it.
Man, you are doing it all. So let me ask you a question. This is me and you now.
Yep.
So you must not play video games, do you?
I got to tell you, the last video game I played, I'm dating myself as I'm 43 years old, was Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. For those of you listening, maybe too young, but that was on Nintendo, I believe.
Not 64, but Nintendo, right?
Nintendo. I just never got into it, man. I was a guy that, let me get outside and get on the court. And growing up, look, if I wasn't on the court trying to fulfill the dream, then I knew someone else was doing that and I wasn't going to gain the edge. That was just the mentality I had, and I had the luxury again of being around a coach's son.
And I think we'll save that question to less. But AJ, a question for backstage guys is really the question would be, how do you deal with, or how do you work with people that have video games in their mind? But we'll get to that. So you mentioned your pillars, your 3 pillars of elite results. Yep. How did you develop those?
Yep. So basically, what I did, and it kind of goes back to studying all these people. See, what was important to me was, when I started to really figure out what are all these people doing differently, and when I sat down with some of these people that were doing the things that I wanted to bring into my tool belt, to my arsenal, the questions I asked them were, and it was crazy. People look at me like I'm nuts. I do this all the time. My wife's like, oh, here he goes again. I'll say, hey, what time do you wake up in the morning? And I might meet this person 5 minutes earlier. What do you eat for breakfast? What time do you go to bed? How do you do vacation? Who are your friends? Because I'm interested in, you're successful. This is what I'm trying to pick your brain on so I can bring it into my life, so I can become 1% better today. So the people would appreciate the inquiries and the questions, and I would just take what I learned. I'd absorb it. I'd always have my phone, and I'd be able to type in what they're saying. I'm like, hey, sorry, let me pause there. That was really good. I want to write this down so I don't forget it. And that's the way I learn, man. And I think people recognize that and appreciate it. And now I've been afforded the ability by starting this company to really give it back in a couple different ways, which is one-on-one coaching, keynote speaking, and team consulting.
Does any one of those people wake up at 9 o'clock in the morning and or eat Fruity Pebbles?
I got to tell you, no, man. One of the cool things I learned was, they'll talk a lot about AM and PM routines. And one of the things that was really cool about a lot of these high performers was their PM routines dictated their AM routines in their morning. And so if you ask a lot of people that are listening, or you just talk to people during the day and say, hey, how many PM routines do you have? What are they? Not many people are going to tell you what they are because they don't have them. But when you get someone that's dialed in from, say, 9 to 9:30 and lights are out at 9:30 so they can wake up at 5 and win the morning to attack the day, those people are doing something right.
Win the morning to attack the day. That might be the new tagline for this team here. Hey, so we've gone on for 15 minutes already. We have probably an hour-long show here, but we are on today with Todd Cetnar. He is a mental performance coach, a former professional basketball player, and Hall of Famer basketball player. So if you have any questions for Todd, again, mental performance coach, drop a comment or a reaction, love, where you're coming from, where you're watching from today. I know we have a few people from Korea watching, which is pretty cool to me. No one from Alaska yet, but in Hawaii. Hey, anyone from Hawaii watching tonight? But hey, we'll get him in here again. Todd Cetnar, we have mental performance coach. So, Todd, your pillar 1.
Yep.
Pillar 1. Oh, we got a question. So, Shante asked, hey, do you have time, or can you find time to handle? How do you find time to handle all of this, what you're doing right now?
Yeah, thanks for the question, Shante. It's pretty similar to what I explained. So right now, I should say 2 years ago, what I use with all of my clients is a 168 template. And what it is, it's a sheet that comes in Google Docs. And the reason why I use Google Docs is every client I have, if anyone's familiar that's listening with Google Docs, I can see exactly what they're doing from a day to day. So it allows me to hold them accountable. Excuse me. And so a 168 sheet is, I'll say to my clients, the minute they sign up to consult with me, I say, listen, first thing we're doing, session 1, take this 168 sheet, write down everything you do between now and this time next week, and we'll have our second call then. And what I want to see is, where are they spending their time? And you'd be shocked when people come back and say, here's what we're doing. Here's what I did. First of all, there's so much free time. There's so much time that they don't realize where it's going. And so what I do is I always start with, how do you maximize your day to maximize your week and ultimately maximize your year? And people think I'm a little crazy, but it helps me, is I know what I'm doing today and I know what I'm doing this time next year. It's all mapped out. Now it'll be tweaked and changed, but I have it there. It's a template, it's a guideline, and I feel like that's the way I'm going to reach my goals.
You said people have free time, Todd, but I don't think you recognize the importance of TikTok right now.
Oh, listen, I'm on social media for business purposes only, but I see what people do out there on TikTok, and it's mind-boggling for some people, for me for sure. Yes.
That's definitely a time suck, and you can go down a rabbit hole there. So, hey, let's go into your pillars. So 3 pillars. Your first one's mindset. So talk to us about mindset in the mental performance coaching.
Yeah. So first of all, people always say to me, like going back to the question about, well, you're a mental performance coach, what do you do? And what do you mean elite mindset? And I'll always ask 2 questions back. I'll say, hey, did you wake up today to be mediocre? And so far, the answer has been 100% no. Okay, good. Then we're on the right track. The second question I ask is, what are you doing every day to train your mindset, your greatest skill set, to face all of life's challenges, adversities, hurdles? What do you do on a day-to-day? Strategies, structured tactics. And 99.9% of the time, it's nothing. You'll get a couple people that have studied it, are into it like I am, and say, hey, here's what I do, and that's terrific. And so when it comes to mindset, those 8 skills are, we don't have time to go through all of them, but, for instance, like process over outcome. When you have goals, and everyone's looking at the goal. There's people out there that want to get their master's. There's people that want to write a book. There's people that want to lose 50 pounds. And the problem with that is, it's the start that stops most people. The goal is so daunting. They're like, how am I going to start? And so what I tell them all the time is 1% of your day, 1% of 24 hours is 14 minutes and 24 seconds. Let's just round it up for the sake of conversation. 15 minutes a day, go for a walk. 15 minutes a day, Google what universities or colleges you may want to get your master's at. Anyone can do anything for 15 minutes. And so when it comes to mindset, I focus a lot on the process. There's a lot going on overseas right now. There's a lot of people that, got the phone call that they're out, they're going, they're leaving their family, they're deploying, or they're going somewhere. That's a hard thing for families to go through. And what I would say to them is, number 1 is control what you can control. You got people that voluntarily want to step up and serve their country, so they're doing what they love to do, even though it's a really hard job. But whether you're the soldier or the family left behind, focus on what you can control. I know it's not easy. And everything else that you can't, recognize it and let it go for a minute. And then what I would tell them is, there's a great Toyota commercial back in 2014 for the Camry. And basically they're driving in a car and they're saying, listen, if you want to go from New York to LA tonight in the middle of the dark, can you do it? Of course you can. There's headlights on a car. But did you know that every car's headlights only allow you to see the next 200 feet? So their point is, you're not going to get in a car and say, hey, we're going to get to LA. No, you're going to get to Buffalo, then Cleveland, then the west of the Mississippi. There's landmarks and there's stepping stones, and you got to take it apart little by little. So what they're saying is, just focus on the next 200 feet. And eventually you're going to create momentum and you'll get yourself through it. And I think that's what we need to focus on when it comes to mindset.
I like how you broke things down to really achievable goals. Mm-hmm. The 15-minute thing is good, and people have the end result in their mind, but they never backwards plan to think about, okay, how can I actually get there? And that's a huge thing. So mindset is definitely key. And AJ, you have any questions so far? Any shouts out, because this is going good so far, I think. If not, the next pillar we have is leadership. And this is what a lot of military folks that are watching really want to learn about is really how to be a better leader. And that's maybe what your mindset, your pillar 2 is.
Yeah. One of the main things I talk about with leadership, and I've been fortunate enough through Joel Nunez to allow me to come to Fort Campbell, Kentucky next week and speak to some career counselors and sergeant majors. So I'm really pumped about that. And one of the things I am going to talk about, which I'll give a little prelude to now, if you got some people overlap and listening here, and we'll be there next week, is whether you're the leader and you're looking to learn, or you're the leader looking to serve the people on your team. There's a formula that I talk about often with my clients, corporate executives, coaches, and athletes, and it's E plus R equals O. And what that stands for is event plus response equals outcome. Let me explain. We can't always control the event. I'd argue 99.9% of the time we can't. We can control our response. And the better the response, the better the outcome. I'll give you an example. I had a client in the middle of 2020 last year. Obviously, the pandemic hit in early 2020, and it was a really tough situation. We're still dealing with it today. And the client came to me all depressed. And she said, Todd, I'm really depressed. Can't go to my job, haven't left my house in months. I've gained 35, 36 pounds. I can't wait for 2020 to be over. And I said, tell me why. She said, what do you mean tell you why? This pandemic is taking lives, and look at me. I'm a shell of who I was a year ago. I can't wait for January of 2021. So I did what was really hard as a coach. I jotted down the notes, although it was right here in the front of my mind the whole time. This was back in July of 2020. And when January 2nd hit, because we were off on New Year's, I had a scheduled call with her. And I said, do you remember what you talked to me about in July of last year? She said, no, I'm not sure. And I said, I repeated the conversation I just told you. And she goes, yeah. I said, it's January 2nd. Tell me what you're going to do now. There's still a pandemic. You're still 36 pounds overweight. You're still in the same job working at home. So you just wasted a half a year because your mindset and your response to the event, which was the pandemic, was poor. So your outcome was poor. And that hit her like a rock. And from that day on, this change in this person was unbelievable. Went to the gym every day, hit the road. When the gym was closed because of the pandemic, or you had to wear a mask, or only a certain amount of people, she went for a walk every day, utilized 1% advantage. All these things she did, but she controlled what she can control, and she led a team in her organization, and she talked about E plus R equals O to them. And to this day, she'll call me and say, I used E plus R equals O. So pretty cool story about leadership and leading yourself plus leading others.
That's a good point. Listen, everybody needs a coach. Whether you're in high school, whether you're in adult life, and the people that watch this show, they're mostly service members and soldiers, but a few of them are what we call career counselors or retention CEOs. And really what they are career coaches. So your performance coach, they're career coaches, and they have to understand that they're coaches as well. And coaches, it's not always, you're not always a cheerleader. Sometimes you got to get tough. It's not because you want to be, because the people need to be coaching, they need it. So a great example of the coaching, and so pillar 3. This is one of the things that people, they go into a business or they go into a job and they talk about the culture now.
Yeah.
So it's a hot topic. So explain to us now what pillar 3, the culture part is.
Yeah. So one of the things I think is really important, again, I'm cognizant of maybe overlapping with some people next week, but I really want to get this point across because it means a lot to me. And if people hear it twice, well, the good thing is that repetition is the mother of all learning. So there's a saying that I learned a long time ago from a really, really good leader. And when it comes to culture, you just touched on it, Matt, sometimes you need to have really difficult conversations. And if you report to me and I'm your leader and you're underperforming, there's two ways that I can have the conversation. One is I can come up to you and say, hey, Matt, look, man, hired you 2 years ago. You're making me look terrible. You're underperforming. You're struggling. I got people that I hired that came in with you in your training class that are 10 times further along than you are. I didn't realize how long this learning curve would be. And you got 2 months to figure this out, or I'm going to have to let you go. It's not going to make you feel really good.
Nope. I feel terrible right now. Thank you.
Exactly. But if I came to you and I said, hey, Matt, first of all, I want to let you know, last year when I hired you, I see potential in you that I think you can be on stage next year to win President's Club. But right now, I need to do 2 things. And this isn't easy for me to say, and I've had a lot of thought, premeditated thought before I came to you today to talk to you. And I want you to understand something, Matt. I need to say what I see, and it's going to be really hard for you to hear, but I want you to trust my intent of where this is coming from. So the analogy here, or the saying here is, say what you see, but trust the intent. And when you say that to someone, where they say, wow, he thought about this conversation before he had it. He's got my best interest at heart. He's given me a little prelude to like, this is going to be a tough conversation, but it's coming from a good place. And then I end the conversation after having a difficult one by saying, hey, listen, Matt, I meant what I said at the beginning. With my support, I'm going to get you a mentor. You need to do the work, but I know you're going to be on stage 1 year from now. Are you in? Are you on board?
I am now.
That's a totally different conversation than the first one. And so
I wrote a word down here, inspire. Yeah. Coach is inspire, and your second part of that really inspires me. And would inspire anyone that probably hears that. So that's good.
Yeah, that's where culture stems from. It's that communication between 2 people, but you got to know how to do it.
Yeah, and I think you did it well.
Appreciate
with that, Todd wrote a book. Are you a best-selling author right now, or how's that work out for you?
So I always carry the book in case someone wants it. 3 Pillars of Elite Results, which is what the framework is. And so what I am proud to say, I launched the book back in March, so we're only a few months in on Amazon. So if you just type in the 3 Pillars of Elite Results on Amazon, you can order it there. You can also go to SettnerConsultingGroup.com, and under products, you can order it there, which will take you back to Amazon. The book, Matt, what I did here was, and I'm not a bestseller, but what I'm proud to say, I mentioned earlier, is I got #1 new release, which is really cool to see during that first month of launch. And now I'm over 1,000 books sold over the last 4 months. It's been really cool to get at least #1 new release, and hopefully on my way to bestseller at some point.
It's like Rookie of the Year, right?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So that's where you can find the book. And if you want, we can talk a little bit about the book itself.
Yeah, so everybody can see right now the SettnerConsultingGroup.com is at the bottom scrolling. So go there, check the book out, and see. Hey, give it a shot. So one of the questions we have, or here's a question from Jessica Hom. Do you use any diagrams to explain your 3 pillars? People are visual now.
Yep, I do. And so what I would say is, are we able to share screens on here? Can we do that?
You are. Yeah, I think you can.
Let's see if I can pull it up. I know it'll take a second here, but let's see here.
Hey, this is live. We can do what we want to do, right?
Do what we want. And you know what? If we screw it up, perfection, or what do they say? Perfection is the enemy of progress. So that's
I like it.
So here, I'm going to share my screen.
Okay.
And for Jessica, let's see if you can see this.
You can't see it yet. Oh, here it comes. All right. There it is.
There it is. So 3 pillars of elite results. Make it a little bit bigger for you here if I can. Let's see here. So basically what you're looking at is my elite performance pathway, which this is what I call, you got the 3 pillars up top. And by learning these 8 skills on mindset, these 8 skills or 8 C's of leadership, you'll notice they're all C's. And then if you look closely at culture, you got mission, vision, principle, MVP, and then TRU, I don't know if you can see my cursor, ST, MVP, trust, process. So these are the 3 pillars of elite results and the 24 skills. And going back to all the people I studied, basically what they did was they mastered these 24 skills. And the way they did that was they did the drills to build the skills in order to obtain the skill set. And that's what they did to separate themselves from the rest of the pack.
Hey, Jessica says thanks. And Todd, that was good because people love visual stuff. So for us, that was awesome.
Perfect.
So how do you writing a book can't be easy, but you're doing like 10 different things right now anyway. So you can probably handle it. How do you structure your book, and how difficult was it to create the book?
Yeah, well, what was cool about it is, when you get into the mindset business, mental performance business, motivational arena, if you go into Barnes & Nobles, you go on Amazon, you look at all the great books, Good to Great and Living with a SEAL, and the list goes on and on. There's thousands, millions almost. Most of these books are just filled with strategy after strategy and tactic. And by the time you get to the second or third chapter, you're like, oh my God, like I forgot even what I read. What I did was I chose to do the book that was loosely based on me as the character. And basically what I did, the character's name is Michael Stone Ridge. My middle name is Michael. I live on Old Stone Ridge. And then everyone in the book is somehow associated with me through family and friends. And that's how I put it all together. But the idea of the book was an inspirational fiction about a guy who, growing up, always tried to do things the right way. He was a transformational leader. And somewhere along the way, as he continued to find success, he became transactional. It was about money, position, status, cars, houses, all these materialistic things. That wasn't the reason why he did it. And what happened was, I wanted to do this during the pandemic because a lot of people were struggling. So that is a part of the book. And Michael Stone Ridge gets sent home because he got hit with contact tracing. And when he gets home, not to give the book away, he explains to his wife, hey, I'm getting sent home for a few days until, I get tested and it's negative. And she goes, well, you know what? You're not coming in the house because we don't know if you have it. And also, what your boss is telling you, which was to think about if he's really the right fit anymore for the company, you need to think about that as a husband and as a father, because you're never here. And so 3 people came into his life over the course of 3 days. There was a landscaping company, a dog walking company, and I'm not going to tell you the third one because I'll give it all away. And these 3 people came in each day and basically got him back to where he used to be, to allow him to, again, be transformational and be the father, husband, and employee that he always has been. And so I think that kind of book, what it is the character's loosely based on me. But if Matt reads it, or Shantae reads it, or AJ reads it, by the end of the book, the idea was you're Michael Stone Ridge. And all the strategies will allow you to say, wow, I really needed this. I needed to know about 1% of my day, process over outcome, living a life of service, and so on and so forth.
I'm inspired. I know we have some comments here that they're inspired too, because you're educating, you're empowering, and you've already energized us this far right here. So,
appreciate it.
AJ, do we have any questions or comments? And if you're watching now, there's a few watching. Hey, what are your questions? What are your comments for Todd? And we can scroll through and get some shouts out. And before my tough questions come on here. So AJ asks, how can a soldier take these pillars and incorporate them into their own lives?
Yeah, it's a great question, AJ. So what's really cool about this, and I put a lot of thought behind it when I was building the framework and the curriculum. And by the way, I'm starting to put together a 240-page workbook so that no matter who you are, what walk of life you're in, if you go up on online and see that mental performance mastery certification with 240 pages of a workbook and me as your coach, it'll walk you through the entire framework, nuts to bolts, on how to gain the 3 pillars of elite results or the 3 pillars to gain the elite results. So that's number 1. Number 2, AJ, to answer your question, what was really cool about the way I structured the framework was, no matter if you're a soldier, a corporate executive, a 12-year-old, a coach, an athlete, doesn't matter. When you walk through, if you looked at the framework when I posted it, and those 3 pillars and the 8 skills, everyone needs to understand how to build connection, character, how to communicate, how to understand process over outcome, understanding the physiology and how do you set yourself up in the morning through eating right, moving, mindset, your AM and PM routines, how to go about your focus and awareness and being where your feet are. Presence is a lost art today. And I always tell people, be where your feet are, right? So everyone's like, I don't understand what that means. That means put the cell phone down, engage in a conversation with someone, and be where your feet are. So there's so many things in my curriculum and framework that you can pull out and say, you know what? This is how I'm going to use physiology and using eat, move, mindset, sleep. This is how I'm going to use mental imagery and self-discipline and self-mastery. There's so many things in there that you can just take and cultivate it for what you need and customize it. One of the things I would say, and again, this is not a pitch, but Matt said it. Everyone needs a coach. You name the people. Oprah, every U.S. president, Tiger, Jordan, everybody who was elite, Leonardo DiCaprio, they all had a coach because they're all looking for the edge and they're all looking for a customized, tailored approach to personalize to them. And I would say by doing it through me, you'll accelerate it, but you can certainly take what I just showed you guys and try to figure out where it's going because it is for everybody.
And I think everybody remembers their coach too, whether it's high school, whether it's performance coach, whether it's a career coach here. But yes, definitely. Morgan Smith asks, how does someone find a coach or mentor? That's a great question right there. I know we have one right here.
Come on, Morgan. We're right here. Todd Cetnar. So it actually is a good question, right? You want to make sure right coach, right fit for what you want. And again, I don't want to repeat myself. I think it's important for people to understand. There are executive coaches. They only deal with high-profile CEOs, lieutenants, majors, whatever the case may be, but the cream of the crop from a status and role standpoint. There are people that coach coaches. There are people that only coach players. I think it's important for me to be versatile and be able to coach and mentor. I have clients that are 10 years old looking to get better on the court and in the game of basketball. I have the same 10-year-old looking to get better and focus on their homework and school. I've got executive coaches. I've got a whole company and organization where I coach middle management. I've got one-on-one people where they're sales reps. They're professional coaches in Europe. So there's so many different people. I've got parents that come to me and ask me how they can coach their kids because they'll listen to everybody except them. So I think it's important to find the right fit. And the best way to do it is if you go online and search coaches, you'll see what they do exactly. But what you'll notice with me is I give everyone a free consultation. It says 15 minutes on my website. I'll give you 15 minutes or I'll give you 8 hours. It doesn't matter. I want to learn about you. What do you need? And I'm pretty sure that I can come up with something to help you, whether it's short-term or long-term.
See, that's good. The free consultation is good. The website's below. Go there, book your time today. Don't be scared. Listen, everybody needs a coach. And to be a coach, you got to know something. So, so before we get any more questions, AJ, if not, I got a question for you. What was your free throw percentage in basketball? Because if you're going to coach me in free throws, should I know that you have a high percentage?
I believe, you can Google this, but I think it was 89% through my career, 89% or 87%, somewhere there. I was a pretty good free throw shooter. I'm a lefty point guard. Again, lucky enough that my dad was also a really great shooter in his day, also part of 3 Hall of Fames himself. So it's really cool. We talk about coaching here. It's really cool to wake up every day and watch what a coach does from a mentality standpoint and how he's disciplined and attacks the game of basketball and how he coached kids over the course of 3 decades.
So the people watching, especially career counselors out there, career counselors, you are career coaches. That's what you are. So when you mentioned process over outcomes.
Yep.
I love that because in the career counselor field, especially the retention field, they look at the outcome as the most important thing, like making mission. It may be, but that process, that's how you get there to make it. Because if you can solidify or make that, if you can perfect that process, your outcomes, they're givens, right?
Yeah, 100%. The outcome is the byproduct of what you do. I say this to all my clients. When they start talking to me about their goals and what they want to do, I say, whoa, whoa, whoa. Today plus today plus today equals your career. It equals your life. What are you doing today to get you one step closer to the goal? And there's two things they can always do. One is the acronym APE, A-P-E. You can always control your attitude, your preparation, and your effort. Number one. Number two is BFS. And BFS is how you do your confidence. You may not always know where you're going and what you want to do. Body language, focus, self-talk. Get big with your body language, whether you're feeling it or not. Your mind doesn't know the difference. Focus. Focus on what you need to do every single day, whether you want to do it or not. And self-talk. Self-talk is so important. I do a lot of mental imagery. I don't know if there's any UFC fans listening, but Conor McGregor, who's on a little bit of a slide right now, as we know, but he's a guy, when he was a plumber in the back islands of Ireland, he was under the sink with a wrench saying, I'm going to be a UFC champion someday. He told himself that every single day at the age of 13, 14, and 15, and he manifested that, and look where he is now on the Forbes list as a billionaire.
That's definitely good advice right there. And I know Rob Taft here watching you. Where do you send the payment at? Hey, Rob, go to the site below, man. Check him out. I saw we had another question from Jessica Hom.
Yes.
What do you think is the most important thing in your AM, PM routine? I know we're going back now, but what's the most important thing?
Most important thing is consistency. Everyone can say I have AM, PM routines, but how often are you going to do them? So what are you consistent in doing? I'll give you a quick synopsis of mine. At 9 o'clock, the cell phone goes off as an alarm, and it triggers me to then give myself 30 minutes to do my PM routines. My PM routines, I basically get the coffee ready. I'm a coffee guy in the morning, get the juices flowing. I set the temperature in the house at 66 degrees. There's statistics and data that says lowers inflammation, best sleeping weather, and also gets you into REM sleep, which is where we all need to be. I put my clothes out on the workout clothes and work clothes out on the desk in my closet, put my cell phone on top of the clothes, charged up, charge all the rest of my devices so I'm ready to go. How stupid would I be if I woke up the next day and I want to put my earbuds on and go for a run and they're dead? Laziness. So I charge everything up, get ready to go. And then obviously we do our thing, brush our teeth, floss, put the fan on. If we like noise, we go to bed. To me, the PM routine allows me to then be ready to attack the day in the morning. And here's what's cool about it. For those of you that caught this, my cell phone is not in the same room on top of my clothes. So when that goes off in the morning, I have to get up to turn that off. And that gives me an edge, because how easy is it to reach over and hit the alarm and fall back to sleep because you're tired? Can't do that when I'm on my feet. And at that point, if I go back to bed, how lazy can I be? I'm already up. So I try to use that as an edge to propel me into my day and get after the workout.
That's a good point. So what do you have for breakfast?
So what, again, and a lot of this isn't me. I do what's called case, copy and steal everything. I want to learn from the best. All the habits and routines of all these excellent performers that I studied and researched. How many times, Matt, have you had a big lunch at 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, and at 2 o'clock, you are so lethargic and fatigued, you're looking for Red Bull, coffee, and Bang energy drink? How many times?
Too often.
Right. What elite performers do is they do something we call eating on the odds. Odd hour of the day, 7 a.m., 7 p.m. At every odd hour, 7, 9, 11, 1, 3, 5, 7, they'll graze. They'll graze. And what that does, you're never starving, never too hungry. You're never too full. You're getting ready for the next meal. And you don't have to stop. When you got a busy day and you got a bar, boom. Early in the morning, you get some fruit, you get a little oatmeal to go, done, right? 9 o'clock rolls around, maybe you got a power bar or something, done. 1 o'clock rolls around, maybe you got a salad with a little chicken, protein. It's already pre-made. Preparation and food is huge, done. The one thing I do sit down with my family is that 5 o'clock meal to have a really good dinner, high protein, low fat, low carbs. That's just the way I'm working because, again, I'm training for an Ironman. But I would tell people that ask me about what I eat, high performers, eat on the odds. And what that also does, there's a lot of data out there about intermittent fasting. Everyone's all over this right now. Technically, I'm doing that because if I stop eating at 7 p.m. and I don't eat till 7 a.m., it's called 12 by 12 intermittent fasting. And for me, that works.
That makes sense. Tough question here from Morgan Smith. How do you overcome when you struggle or lose focus?
Yep. So there's something I say to people all the time. When I'm working with clients, I have a picture in my Google Doc and it's of a toilet. And they go, what the hell is that? How is that going to help me with struggling and losing focus? Number one is I'll tell you this. When you get hit with adversity, you think of this toilet and you think of flushing it and making the next best decision. Flush it, NBD, next best decision. So if you're struggling, if I have a client, a kid that's struggling with focusing for 1 hour doing her homework, the minute they don't want to do it anymore and they lose that focus, I'll do a couple things for them. They all have this 1% wristband. And I'll say, Matt, snap the wristband, give them a little shock, wake them up. For the next 1%, 15 minutes, I want you to get back into, go get a sip of water, do 5 push-ups, and I want you to focus for 15 minutes. After that, we'll talk again. Get back to your homework for 15 minutes. It's a great way when we start to lose it a little bit and we're trying to concentrate. I got the wristband to remind me and my clients. I'll go do something to shock it. Tony Robbins, great motivational speaker. We probably all know him. He's really good at this. Shock your system quick and get yourself back in. And don't focus on all the stuff you need to do in that study hour. 15 minutes.
Everybody can do that. It's so simple. Hey, Shante says, hey, I feel like we're already getting a free consultation now.
Absolutely.
We are.
Absolutely.
Hey, one last question we have from Tim Donahue. He's a Boston guy, so don't be too hard on him.
Uh-oh.
Did you get any professional coaching credentials? If so, which ones?
You know what's funny? I didn't. The one thing I mentioned, if you were on, Tim, at the beginning of the show is even my coach, Brian Kane, a couple shout outs I've given him on this, so he'll be happy if he's listening. But, Brian created this certification that he learned from his coaches many, many years ago, 20, 30 years ago. And when I got connected through Brian, through a good Navy SEAL friend of mine, fellow military guy, I learned from Brian. I said, Brian, are you credentialed? Is there a psychology degree and all this stuff? And he says, honestly, Todd, you know what I found out? When you start coaching people, if they come back to you and tell you that you've impacted and changed their lives, what do you need a credential for? Go serve people. And if you're helping them close the gap from where they are to where they want to be, that's all the credentials you need. And you know what? I took that advice years ago. And right now, I've got a thriving business. I've got people coming to me that are saying, you know what, Todd, you've changed the course of my career. You helped me get promoted. They're doing the work. I'm just steering the ship and giving them some strategies along the way, and I absolutely love it.
Credentials are easy, and it's really for the military. It's kind of like your rank. It's a well-known thing. So if you have that, people instantly know that that's who I am. So good point there. AJ, any more questions from the audience? If not, hey, are you on LinkedIn at all?
Yep, I'm on LinkedIn. I think it's just at Todd Cetnar on LinkedIn. I'm on all the social media platforms. So if you go to my website, on the upper right-hand side of the website, SettnerConsultingGroup.com, you got all my LinkedIn symbols or, whatever you call it. I told you I got you. What are they called? Tags or whatever they are. So they're all up there. You can get your 15-minute conversation, free consultation with me if we want to extend this with people, and then we can talk about one-on-one coaching if that's what they absolutely want to do, or team consulting, keynote speaking. But I'm happy to talk to anybody at any point in time. And I love what I do. That's why I'm doing it. And I had a goal 5 years ago. When I first thought of this framework, I said to myself at 40 years old, at 45 years old, would love to walk away from the corporate world and do Settner consulting full time and just go around speaking to people and making impact and serving people on a large scale. I'm 43. I'm well on my way. I got 2 years left, and I know I'm going to hit that goal. Do you know why, Matt?
Mindset.
Process over outcome. There's not a day goes by that I don't think about the goal, but what's in the forefront of my mind is what am I doing today to get me closer? It's all that matters.
So simple. So simple. Hey, so we'll close it down with this right here. Who is your favorite basketball player? If we can know that.
Yeah. So I had two throughout my life. One was Bobby Hurley. Many people may or may not know the name, but I'm a Duke guy.
Motorcycle accent. I get that, man.
Yeah. So I'm a Duke guy. I had a local guy when I was growing up. His name was Greg Kubek. Greg was the first and only player to play in 4 Final Fours. And when Greg came out of the area, and of course I'm a young guy watching someone get a Division I scholarship in the game I love, I was able to see Bobby Hurley play. I'm like, wow, this is a guy from the tri-state area here in New Jersey, 6 foot like me, point guard, coach's son. His dad coached St. Anthony's High School for 40 years. And I was watching this guy win championship after championship. He ended up going to the NBA and getting in a really bad car accident that ended his career. But he's now, obviously, as you guys may or may not know, he's coaching Arizona State University, serving back and coaching kids. So he was really my guy growing up. And then when I got a little older and was able to watch Steve Nash play, wow, what a crafty guy. Again, I gravitated towards people similar in stature, similar in position. And Steve Nash, 2-time NBA MVP, now coaching the Brooklyn Nets, and 2 guys I really looked up to.
I'm kind of surprised you didn't mention Kenny Anderson.
Kenny was tough. However, he was a UNLV guy who beat Duke in that first Final Four. So, no.
He was a lefty, though, man. That's why I was going with you. So, hey, Todd, good talking tonight. Again, Todd Cetnar, a mental performance coach. The website is Settner Consulting Group. Go there, check it out. Thank you very much, and we'll leave it like that. And next week we'll be on here again. A great show, but reach out to Todd. Get your free consultation. Get it. It costs you nothing, but probably 15 to 20 minutes. You'll need it. Hey, Todd, thank you very much, man. Take care.
Thanks so much, Matt. Appreciate it.